Welcome to the WIHS Journal. On the broadcast today with us, we'll have Danny Huerta. He's from Focus on the Family. He works with children and youth. Join today's broadcast as we'll learn about the importance of chores. Well, Danny, thank you so much for being with us today on the telephone line. I know that you serve a very important role there at Focus on the Family and working with families. Maybe before we begin this interview about chores, you can describe a little bit about what you do to our listeners.
Yes, Anissa, what a privilege to be on the show with you. And I'm the Vice President of Parenting and Youth at Focus on the Family. I get to oversee the initiatives on parenting and youth that goes out from Focus on the Family. What a wonderful ministry to work for. And I also serve as a family therapist for families in the area of Colorado Springs. So, yeah, a lot goes out. Plugged In, Clubhouse, Club Junior magazines, Brio magazine, Adventures in Odyssey, and the list goes on. Our parenting website, which continually has new content and downloads and free things for parents to dig into, and then bring your Bible to school day. That's a great movement and campaign from Focus on the Family on challenging kids to stand up for their faith and let others know that they believe in God and then live it out throughout the year.
Absolutely.
And so, yeah, there's a lot that goes up.
And I know that we all been hit by this massive pandemic of the COVID-19, and many families are home with their children. And one of your topics, which I love, that you talked about chores and how they're essential for a child to grow. And so why do you feel it's so imperative that children do learn chores at any age?
Well, from an early age, it's just essential to begin to include our kids on everyday chores. From the beginning, God created us to work. Work is neighbor love, loving our neighbor through our work. And a lot of times we don't see it that way. We see it as a task, but it's a way to love and to contribute. And young kids, from early as 18 months to 24 months, kids begin to want to naturally participate in the jobs and activities that are going on around them, and just that natural desire to participate in that work. And so science has actually confirmed the many, many benefits that come in a kid's life if they participate in chores on a regular basis. And that is increased life satisfaction, social skills go up, academics go up, the sense of self-confidence and self-competence as well, and just overall responsible behaviors which help them be successful at managing a home and being in a job. And so it's about really learning how to be contributors within God's kingdom rather than consumers within that kingdom.
So funny. Even if the child is bickering and complaining and being obstinate, just clearly doesn't want to do it. And the question I have is, what chores are age appropriate? And for each child, do you have suggestions for that?
Great questions, right? So the first one is, do kids have age limits? Are there age limits on what kids can do? Certainly there's safety concerns with like mowing and some other things like cutting vegetables, anything that requires some sharp objects, or dangerous chores outside if you have a farm, right? Farm equipment. But for the most part, most household chores can be done with kids and taught at earlier ages than we normally do. For instance, making their bed, you can do that together with kids as young as 4 or 5, helping make that. And this could be imperfect right off the bat. If you're expecting perfection, you're probably going to have to wait a while for kids to get to that. And so the way to encourage kids is to help them really see that they are contributing in a meaningful way in the home. And there are certain personalities, and more impulsive personalities need more emotional investment and more supervision. And some kids that are much more conscientious and organized and naturally responsible are going to catch on real quickly to the culture of work and doing those. There's some kids that are just more natural at that. And so the ages and stages, that mowing one is probably the most significant one because there have been some potentially life-threatening injuries with that, having kids start off way too early.
Yeah.
And so they can be out there maybe with their plastic mower, maybe helping bag the grass for a while, and just being with you until you see, they can responsibly do it, and then you supervise them for a while and know that they're going to be grass strips, it's going to be maybe crooked, and that's okay. You help them learn how to do it well. And then after a while, they grow responsible in doing that, and maybe that can be an extra job that they earn as they show responsibility with all the other chores. And then hey, they're trustworthy, they're responsible, they're conscientious, and then maybe without supervision, by the time they're 12, 13, 14, they can begin to do that on their own.
And is there a time when you start rewarding them with allowance?
Yes, the allowance piece is a common question in my counseling practice, and actually a common conflict in my practice between, especially between teenagers and preteens and their parents. And really, my response from a developmental perspective and therapeutic and biblical perspective is that kids have to learn how to have contributions within the house without having to be paid. And usually the way I set it up is putting maybe a marble jar or a jar with that can have paper clips put in. And what you do is have a list of responsibilities, and they're called responsibilities for the kids because they're not as a favor to anyone. These are responsibilities for living in the home. And those responsibilities you're being trusted with so that the home operates well. And when those responsibilities are met, then you can do jobs. You're trusted enough to do jobs that are paid. If you're truly motivated and wanting to be paid for something, there could be a list of jobs that could be paid, and then you put the amount of what that would be. So if it's a job that takes 5 minutes, it would cost less than one that takes an hour.
Yeah.
And you as a family agree on those amounts. But the idea is trustworthiness and responsibility. That is a something that a child has to learn and be motivated to build in order to gain the privilege to earn money. Just like a real job, someday you don't just automatically get paid without being responsible. And an allowance is sometimes said to be just given automatically so that kids learn how to manage money. There are many other ways to do that rather than just giving kids money and then threatening to take allowance away. It just sets a real weird dynamic in the family that is not necessarily healthy.
Danny, I really enjoyed today's conversation, learning about your tips and suggestions for children and chores. Any details that I left out that you would like to convey before we close today's broadcast?
Well, a few things. One is, it was an interesting thing to read a stat that had 1,001 parents that were interviewed on whether or not they were given chores as kids and if it was beneficial. And 83% or 82% said, yes, I had chores when I was young, very beneficial to me. I'm thankful for that. Yet only 28% give their kids chores. And so you wonder why. Many times it's busyness or it's inconvenient because it's just going to take longer and you just need to get it done because there's so many demands on you as a parent. Take the time to invest in those moments because the more you do, especially early on, the better it is down the road and the more time you save down the road. So it's truly an emotional investment in the moment and a time investment in teaching your kids those disciplines, even though at the moment it's a little tougher and they put you behind. Be patient with that. And then what I'll say is we have a lot more information for parents, including differences in personality and how to handle those. And that's through a free download called Avoiding Chore Wars. And that can be found on our website at focusonthefamily.com/parenting, focusonthefamily.com/parenting. And there you will also find a great resource on age-appropriate chores, just some ideas, age and stage of some ways that you can continually introduce kids to new chores and begin to hand more and more responsibility as they get older and help them really become true leaders rather than consumers that are complaining. Once again, that was Danny Huerta from Focus on the Family.
He is the Executive Director of Youth and Families. At Focus on the Family, today's topic was the importance of children learning chores. For more details, you can give us a call here at WIHS at 860-346-1049. The opinions expressed are those of the participants, not necessarily those of a staff and management of a station. I'm Anissa Porticelli. The WIHS Journal is public affairs from WIHS, Middletown,